WION Bureau Chief Anchal Vohra is on ground in Srinagar. Take it from here, Anchal. Over to you.
Thanks very much, Molly, and a good evening to all our viewers here at WION. Tonight, what we're discussing is if India should in fact release the evidence that it claims it has of the surgical strike it claims it has conducted. As you'd noticed, there were two claims in that one sentence that I used. We've got our panelists who will throw some light on that, from strategic affairs expert to defense experts, and a senior journalist from Kashmir, someone who's known to know Kashmir better than many of us sitting in the national capital. All right, but before that, across the border in Pakistan, Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif again spoke about Burhan Wani, calling him a martyr. He spoke about how the Uri attack, he spoke about how there was no surgical strike. We'll try and analyze what Pakistan's Prime Minister is trying to do if he's repeatedly calling Burhan Wani a martyr when he's been seen wearing a soldier's attire with a lethal weapon in his hand. So first up, let's listen in to what Nawaz Sharif had to say.
उड़ी का वाक़या ऐन उस वक्त पेश आया जब मैं जनरल असेंबली से खिताब के लिए न्यूयॉर्क के लिए रवाना हो चुका था। मामले की तफसीलात सामने आने और किसी भी तरह की इब्तदाई तहकीक के बगैर चंद घंटों के अंदर बल्कि 6 घंटों के अंदर भारत ने इस वाक़े की जिम्मेदारी पाकिस्तान पर डाल दी। हम जंग के खिलाफ हैं। हम खित्ते में पायदार अमन चाहते हैं। हम कश्मीर समेत तमाम मसाइल संजीदा बामकसद और नतीजा खेज मुज़ाकरात के ज़रिए हल करना चाहते हैं। बुरहान वानी की शहादत कश्मीरियों की तहरीक को एक फैसला कुन मोड़ तक ले आई है। मासूम लोगों के सीने छलनी करने, उनके चेहरे मस्क करने और उन्हें अंधा करने से इस तहरीक का रास्ता नहीं रोका जा सकता। जुल्म के हर वार के साथ भारतीय तसल्लुत से आज़ादी का अज़्म पुख्ता हो रहा है। 7 दहाइयों से कश्मीरियों को ग़ुलाम बनाए रखने के तमाम हरबों के बावजूद अपने हकूक़ के लिए सर धड़ की बाजी लगाने वाले सरफरोशों का काफ़िला अपनी मंजिल की जानिब बढ़ रहा है।
Well, you heard him there. We will analyze that in just a bit. But earlier in the day, I also spoke to my colleague Taha Siddiqui, who's reporting from Islamabad for WION. And I started by asking him what transpired in Pakistan today. There was a lot of activity, the Prime Minister talking on a range of these subjects. You heard what he's had to say. And here's how Taha responded.
Well, the parliament session is actually focused on Pakistan-India tensions, and especially with regards to what has been happening on the line of control. Many of the parliamentarians that I spoke to when they went inside for the session, they said that they will try to bring back the focus on Kashmir because somehow or the other, because of this the Uri attack, and after that the recent attacks, the debate and the discourse has changed, and everybody is talking about what's happening in Pakistan with regards to militancy. So there was this feeling within the parliamentarians that they want to focus specifically on the Kashmir cause and bring that back to the forefront as they were doing when the Prime Minister went for the United Nations General Assembly session. Many of the parliamentarians came on the floor of the House to make speeches, and the session will continue tomorrow, and then eventually there will be a sort of a policy statement that may come out, and a message of unity of the fact that all the parliamentarians are backing the Pakistani government with regards to this issue with India.
And Taha, if India does decide to release the evidence that it claims it has, then what sort of a response can one expect from Pakistan?
Well, as far as the video evidence is concerned, Pakistan has been in denial from day one that the surgical strikes happened at all. I was talking to some local journalists who I mentioned this to, that this video evidence will come out and it will have those surgical strikes, the information about the surgical strikes, and then what will Pakistan and how will Pakistan respond. And the answer to this was that they've already been talking to some military sources, and the military sources have been saying that the narrative that they might build around it is the fact that the jungles on both sides of the line of control look the same. So the Indian army might have actually orchestrated the whole thing on their own side, and then they even said that they went to the extent of saying that they have Bollywood there, so they could have used some Bollywood director to film this sort of surgical strike as India is claiming it to be. So already we're hearing of that kind of chatter here, that first they rejected the whole surgical strike claim, and then now even if there is evidence, they will not accept it, and they will continue with this sort of denial that we've been seeing.
All right, there you heard my colleague Taha Siddiqui talking about how the military there is saying that perhaps India has used some Bollywood director to orchestrate all of this. We're going to be bringing that up, but before that, as I promised, we will first talk about what Nawaz Sharif has said and what is he trying to do when he goes on calling Burhan Wani a martyr. Let me introduce my panel to you. Strategic Affairs Analyst, Mr. Vidya Shankar Aiyer is joining us. Thanks very much, sir, for speaking to WION this evening. We've got Brigadier Arun Sahgal joining us from Delhi as well. We'll be talking to him and getting a defense analysis. In Kashmir, I've got a very special guest, known journalist David Devdas. Thanks very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Very specific questions we'll have for you. You're from here. I imagine you know a lot more than me sitting here.
Well, I spend a lot of time here, but I wouldn't say I'm from here.
All right. I stand corrected. All right. Let's take I'll take the first question to Mr. Aiyer. What do you make of this, Mr. Aiyer? Nawaz Sharif again calling Burhan Wani a martyr?
Well, it's expected, isn't it? I mean, he's addressing a domestic audience. He's in his National Assembly. He's bound to make noises which will keep his domestic audience happy. Why should he not say what he's saying? I think it's perfectly expected, and I don't think we need to particularly react to what he has to say to his domestic audience. So I think we can leave it there.
Okay, very well. Let's take that to Brigadier Arun Sahgal. Brigadier, should we leave it there or should we not? Because the people that I'm talking to here in Kashmir, they say that essentially what Nawaz Sharif is trying to do is he's directly addressing the terrorist wing, or as Kashmiris here call it, the militant youth, and he's not even talking to the separatists anymore. He's directing the militants and in that sense promoting that thought.
You know, I totally agree with Mr. Aiyer that we need not respond to him. But there is another element to what he's trying to do. He is trying to pitch Burhan Wani as some kind of a local militant, and it's an attempt to distance himself or his Pakistani state from the internal developments within Kashmir and make it a homegrown kind of a scenario rather than cross-border. So basically he's trying to, it's a very clever intent to distance the Pakistani state from the cross-border terror and to shape it as if it was a homegrown thing, and therefore it is the militant youth of Kashmir which is taking up the gun, blah blah blah, and therefore he is trying to change the narrative. It's a weak attempt, I would say, at the best.
All right, sir. A weak attempt. Let me come to my Kashmiri guests here. Before we get to the subject of the debate, which essentially is if India should release the evidence that it claims to have on the surgical strike, we're talking about what Nawaz Sharif has said today. He's essentially again glorifying Burhan Wani, a militant, a terrorist, whatever terminology fits here. What do you think he's trying to do? This is the second time he's said this.
Let me just say that for the last 6 years or so now, I have been saying that three trends have been developing from about 2008 onwards, which are now coming together, it seems to me. And I've been predicting that they would come together at some stage, warning that we should guard against that. Now, one of them is Pakistan's antagonism, which was evident 2008 in Mumbai, and has been evident since, and has been evident before that as well. But let me just say that until about 2006, we were in serious talks, which seemed to be possibly getting somewhere, but from around 2007, it was clear that they were not. And 2008 onwards, we've seen a new sort of action from Pakistan, beginning with Mumbai. The second part of this triad of forces that I've been talking about is China, which I believe is very much behind Pakistan in military terms. It's already very clear that they are behind Pakistan in diplomatic terms and economic terms. Pakistan's economy has rebounded over the last year or two because of the CPEC, the economic corridor. And the third element of this triad has been the development of youth anger and alienation from 2008, which has become evident from 2008 onwards. A new generation that has grown up during violence, that have from their birth known nothing but a disturbed situation, a violent situation. Now, this came up in 2008, it came up in 2010. Each time, unfortunately, our strategic analysts, our government, have ignored it once it subsided. And we've again got excited about it in 2016 after things exploded with Burhan Wani's killing.
Right.
Now, obviously, what you're talking about today, let me come specifically to your question. Of course, Pakistan is going to use it to the maximum. It can. Pakistan has also been behind the Hizbul Mujahideen from the beginning.
Right.
The Hizbul Mujahideen came into being in November 1989 when it was formed in Muzaffarabad. At least it was given sanctioned by the ISI in Muzaffarabad. It had already been in formative stages before that for a little while. Now, Burhan Wani was a divisional commander of the Hizbul Mujahideen, there's no doubt about that. And Hizbul Mujahideen is run from Pakistan, there's no doubt about that either. So that Pakistan would use this should not surprise anyone. Now let me say one other thing. It seems to me that for the last month or more, in fact from perhaps Independence Day, when the Prime Minister made a very bold sort of speech from the Red Fort, we have entered a different phase. And it is a remarkably different phase from before.
Right.
What has happened, let us use a football metaphor, is that the game has been moved to the other half.
Okay.
Now, it's bound to have its repercussions. Now, we seem to be on the cusp of possible war. Now, no two nuclear powers are going to declare war.
Right.
War was not declared in Kargil
so
either.
I've got to
over
interrupt.
Kargil
I think we've got to sort of have more specific questions, as much as I enjoy listening to that detailed analysis from you. Before we start discussing if India should, in fact, reveal the evidence that it claims it has, I'd like to bring a report to you that my colleague Shylaja filed. She is in Jammu, and she's been talking to people, and how all of this conflict and talk of war is perhaps fancy in TV studios, but what it really means for the people on the ground. Have a look at this report.
It's been 10 days since 13-year-old Kajal Kumari went to school. Sitting in the relief camp in the outskirts of Jammu, Kajal is worried about missing classes. Resident of a border village, she is here along with her 3 sisters and extended family. Kajal wants to join India's border security force when she grows up to guard the country's frontiers.
क्योंकि मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि मैं भी फायरिंग करूँ, ऐसे डराते रहते हैं पाकिस्तानी हमें, तो मुझे लगता है मैं भी करूँ.
Hundreds of families like Kajal's have been forced to migrate from the border villages in Jammu to relief camps like these. The Jammu and Kashmir government has converted schools into camps where residents are provided with 3 meals a day and a corner to sleep. Classrooms are converted to shelters cramped with bedding.
Till the time the camps are there, our teams are here, we are monitoring the health and giving the lectures, as well as seeing the water, source of water, as well as the living condition, overcrowding, ventilation, all the aspects as well as the medication is being looked after. And let me tell you, the people are healthy, but they are disturbed, their children, they are having minor ailments, these are being catered for.
More villagers have evacuated the border areas after Tuesday's shelling in Palanwala and Naushera sectors of Jammu. Uncertainty looms large as they wait to return to their homes.
नुकसान हो जाए एक बार होगा ना, बार-बार कभी सामान लेकर जाते हैं, भाग जाते हैं लोग, कभी आते हैं, एक बार हो जाए झगड़ा.
यहाँ के जो हमारे ऑफिसर साहबान हैं, उनके कहने पे होता है. वही कहते हैं कि आप इधर से चले जाओ, आप इसको खाली करो, तो फिर भी लोग जाने के लिए तैयार नहीं होते हैं। फिर भी वो कहते हैं यार हमारी इज्जत के लिए आप जाओ, मेहरबानी करके 2-4 दिन के लिए आप पीछे हो जाओ, वरना ये लोग इधर से जाने वाले नहीं है, ये लोग मुकाबला करने वाले हैं पाकिस्तान से।
बिल्कुल कहते हैं खाली कर दो, लेकिन कब तक करेंगे खाली हम। 98-99 में 13/6/2001 2003 में हुई शेलिंग हुई थी, तब भी जो है जब भी करगिल में युद्ध हुआ था तब भी हम बाकी गए थे। हर बार ऐसे होता है।
कहीं जा नहीं सकते मैं, जाएँ कहाँ, पीछे जाएंगे तो हमारा गांव चारों तरफ से बाढ़ से घिरा है मैम।
इधर भी साथ ही बाढ़ रहे हैं
मैम, बिल्कुल चारों तरफ से बाढ़ रहा, बीच में गांव हमारा मैम, हम कहीं जा भी नहीं सकते मैम।
The people living in such camps really hope that they can go back, return to their homes in the border areas as soon as the tensions between India and Pakistan eases out.
In ceasefire violations by the Pakistani troops have not affected the life in Jammu town. Not far from the international border, the area is bustling with traffic and people. In Jammu, with BJ Kapil Kumar, Shylaja Verma for Beyond.
Well, people want to return home. They want their life to return to normalcy. And that's true for Jammu, and that's certainly true for Kashmir. Let's open the discussion now. We've got about 15 minutes. I'm going to go to Mr. Aiyer first.
Yes,
sir, do you think India should be releasing the evidence that it claims it has, or is that not necessary?
No, I think it's irrelevant, it's redundant. I think it's, you know, we just don't need to go walk down that path at all. In fact, let me go back to when you played that soundbite of Nawaz Sharif raising Burhan Wani's name again at the National Assembly. Let's try and understand why is he doing that. He's not just doing that because he wants to tell his domestic audience and please them and all that. He's also trying to take the talk away from war, away from the focus on surgical strikes. He's saying, so be it. Let there have been surgical strikes. Irrelevant for me. Let's get the focus back on Kashmir. It's a way of taking the talk away from jingoism, from war with India to, you know, domestic political issues, which is where Pakistan has a stronger ground. It does not help anyone to talk of an impending war. So I think the reason why Nawaz Sharif has resurrected the name of Burhan Wani at the National Assembly is this. As Prime Minister, to take away, have you heard Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, speak about surgical strikes? No, you haven't. Have you seen him? He's so active on Twitter and social media. Have you heard any tweet from him congratulating the Indian Army, saying wonderful strike done, great job done by the Indian Army? No, you haven't. But you've heard a cacophony of voices from his cabinet and his government who are supporting all this. What we've done is whatever we've done. We don't know the facts. Facts are being given by the various so-called unnamed sources in government to different media outlets saying different things. It's very hard to confirm what the truth is. But what we do know is the government of India is not interested in going for a war. It wants to avoid escalation. Now, the only way you can be certain that you will have escalation is if you're going to put out anything like a video, if it exists at all, and then, put it out there, which embarrasses Pakistan, the army chief, the Pakistan army,
absolutely.
And then you have upped the ante immediately. And let me also add, I seriously doubt if there is any video of an actual operation through helmets, which we have seen reports of in the media, in various sources of the media, existing. I have not heard of any training, and Brigadier Sahgal is right here, he can confirm this. I have not heard of any training. I've done, these war gamings with the army and the armed forces and all that. I have not heard of anything of helmets with videos like the Osama bin Laden operation, with GPS and satellites covering it live, with people sitting in a war room in the Ministry of Defense. It's a bizarre story. It's a completely bizarre story. I don't even want to know if it's true or not. All I know is I don't want to put out, if there is a video of this, I don't want to put it out.
Can I...
All right, let me take that to Brigadier Sahgal. Sir, Mr. Aiyer has spoken at quite some length here. Yes, Brigadier, do come in. I want to ask you if any of that evidence actually exists or not, but because what I'm hearing on the ground, that GPS at least would be there, and there is some evidence that the Indian government can release, if not the video.
Okay, let me disabuse ourselves and also inform your listeners and audience. Look, our technical capabilities are much beyond your comprehension, and by and large we perceive them to be. We have a huge amount of technical capabilities. There is a video evidence available. The video evidence is based on both satellites, UAVs and ground-based sensors. Number two, I totally agree with Mr. Aiyer that there is no need to make it public at this stage, because it is unnecessary warmongering and it will unnecessarily ratchet up tensions. My third point is The political discourse on wanting to get the evidence out has got nothing to do with the strikes. It is all political rhetoric aimed at the oncoming electoral phase in which 4 or 5 states are going to going to polls. So the question basically is this: the narrative which is coming from the political class is not the narrative which should induce the government of the day to ratchet up tensions, escalate situation, and create a war-like scenario. Number three, please understand, if there was nothing of significance that has happened.
Allow me to come in, sir.
No, one second. Pakistani operational strike corps who have moved out of their locations, Pakistani defensive corps who have moved out of their location, Pakistani Air Force fully deployed, Lahore and Karachi being made no flying zones. You do not spend good money when you are an IMF dole in getting your forces ready for operations. Pakistan today is an IMF dole. Pakistan can't even spend 1 naya paisa.
Point taken, sir.
Sorry? So that's all I want to say. So under the circumstances...
I'm sorry, sir. It's just, I understand what you're saying. Point taken is what I said, sir. Right. I think, sir, we've got to bring in the other guest in the discussion as well. David, both my panelists, Mr. Aiyer and Brigadier Sahgal, are saying there's no need to release the evidence, certainly not at this stage. It's going to escalate the situation. That's not what you want. What would you say? Should India release the video? Should India release some evidence or none at all?
Without hearing them, I would agree completely that we should, and I think people are going to believe what they want to believe, what suits them to believe. And across the world, chancelleries and governments and agencies are going to want to promote de-escalation, are going to want to avoid escalation. And that should be what the government of India should also want, and probably does want.
Is there
and
any
that
evidence,
is why,
any part of it, perhaps the GPS, the location, something, the number of people they killed? Because there is, at least across some of the journalists that one is speaking to, and reports that one's finding out, it doesn't seem like a lot of people were killed. Because there were video reports that 30 plus people have been killed, 50 have been killed. Even in the
GPS
Indian
is not going to reveal anything.
They have expressed doubts, whether how many people there were.
well, however many were killed, and in a situation like this, which is very near the fog of war, it is never going to be entirely clear, and as I said, people are going to believe what suits them to believe. So the Pakistani government media are bound to dispute and deny a lot of what is said, whatever evidence might be provided. For example, this talk of Bollywood producers and directors, whatever, that is going to happen. What I'm saying is that what we need now is to try and de-escalate.
Right, is there any evidence in your assessment that can be released or no?
Of course there must be. Of course there would be evidence that can be released. There's no doubt about that.
Do you think there's more information that Indian government should share or no?
I think it's shared a very, very well formulated statement, and that there is no reason to distrust it. There's definitely something happened. It's just about 2 kilometers from, as a very senior analyst based in the US put it, it's a pinprick. It's not even, you could call it a surgical strike, you could call it whatever you like.
Okay, so there is consensus on that. My studio guests they would like to come in. Aiyer, Mr. Aiyer, you were talking about
GPS is not going to help.
But location, but they have not given that, the Indian government. Should they give that?
No, I don't think the GPS footage is going to help at all. Consider this, the GPS is, a picture taken with the help of a satellite. Now, the resolutions for this are very little. You're not going to get the minute kind of details that you would have got out of the operation that got Osama bin Laden at Abbottabad. So you can disabuse yourself of ideas of a Hollywood style or a Bollywood style movie being made out of this. It's going to be completely useless. There's nothing that the general public is going to be able to understand from a GPS picture or even a video. Now, even if you have helmets with cameras that have gone and shot this, for God's sake, this happened early in the morning when it's still dark. Nothing is going to be visible there for them to actually make out things on a television screen. What I would say is, the government of India is to blame for this. They have gone around spreading all these stories in the media of various versions of it, and the ministers of the government are going around talking in various television channels and newspapers, giving all sorts of sound bites about how the proof exists and how this will be done. You have the Home Minister, no less, saying, wait and watch, you'll get the proof. Now, if the Prime Minister wants to actually keep it down, and we've done a successful operation, The sensible thing to do is to keep your ministers, call these
Mr.
barking
Aiyer, we've
dogs
got
back.
2 minutes left.
Look, the issue basically is...
I'm sorry, sir, but I've got to go to Brigadier Sahgal now to get the final word. Mr. Brigadier, go ahead.
The bottom line is the Army headquarters, the Director General Military Operations Directorate have said that we have cleared the evidence for publication. They have said we have given you the videotapes and everything, and they have said it is up to the government of the day to decide. So as far as the Army is concerned, they are very clear that they have the evidence. They have cleared the evidence for disclosure, and now it is up to the government. The government has to take a call, and I think the government is making a sensible stand on this by not releasing it ad lib. And I'm sure when the time comes, it will be shared with a set of people who need to be shared with. But I don't think it needs to be shared with people who are demanding this evidence, particularly the second-rung leaders from the national parties, who are only doing jingoism and nothing else.
Well, actually, the jingoism is on both sides. I mean, all parties are to blame for this. Once the government of India takes a move like this, it's very hard to say you don't support the government.
Okay.
So we are in a bit of a tricky position there.
Oh, I'm going to bring in David Devdas here now. So essentially there is consensus building. There's no need to share the evidence, and whatever, it's only going to sort of escalate the situation. So it's interesting to have all my panelists on the same page. I'd like to ask you, when Pakistan says that there is no surgical strike and India is claiming it officially, India is also talking and informing its other partners like France, Germany and the US. I mean, we have communication capabilities, but surely the West does too, surely US does too. So if such a strike has been conducted, surely there is already evidence, and there are people, if they would want to, I mean, they're either already watching or can dig that out, can't they?
Let me also in this context compliment the External Affairs Ministry. Before the strike, a lot of groundwork was done on the sidelines of the UNGA. That was an opportunity that was used, very well used. And I think a lot of the major forces, major powers across the world, and that has been evident ever since the strike, have been brought on board, have been explained, the situation has been explained, and the need for whatever was done has been explained, and consensus has been built not only in this program, but I think across the world before whatever was done on the 28th. And therefore, since a lot of people are on board, know what happened, and we need now to try and restrain restrain tempers on both sides.